Good afternoon and welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. Give me a second while I welcome our Spanish-speaking neighbors. Buenas tardes, gracias por estar con nosotros hoy día en 3 p.m. con SOC. Si quieren acceso al programa en español, por favor marquen el número que aparece en pantalla que es 425-436-6200. Cuando le contestan su llamada, por favor comparten el clave que es 627-682. Once again, thank you for being with us this Friday, June 12th. My name is Tammy Rivera. I'm the Executive Director and Lead Organizer for Southside Organizing Center, SOC or SOC. It's the end of the week. We have a lot of important things to talk about. Next week, it's going to be an incredible week for you. Marlene Zaran, our coronavirus coordinator, has set up a whole week dedicated to mental health in addition to the things that we talk about regularly. I want to share with you that we are still here for you from the day the pandemic started till now in all the ways you always could access us except for in person. And we are looking forward to when we can do that again safely. Please know you can call our phone at 672-8090. You can email us at soc@socmilwaukee.org. And please do visit our website. We have a whole page, in addition to all the things we do on our website, we have a whole page dedicated to information, resources, and ways you can take action in relation to COVID-19 or the coronavirus. And it's still very important that we do so. Let me share with you what's taking place this coming week, because we want you to be here with us getting the latest critical information and update. On Tuesday, Dr. Rob Smith, the professor of Marquette University, director of their Center for Urban Research, Teaching, Outreach, and also the chairperson for the County Human Rights Commission will be on, along with a longtime friend, Reggie Jackson of the Black Holocaust Museum. And we'll be talking about protests, historical civil rights, and also what's happening with our how COVID is impacting disproportionately our people of color. And so please don't miss that. You want to be with us. Also, we have commitments from the following people. We're just going to have to find which space works best in terms of the days to bring them on. Griselda Aldrete, Executive Director of the Fire and Police Commission, is coming on. Chaz Ordóñez, the City of Milwaukee Equal Rights Commission Chair, is coming on. Wednesday, Gabriela Dieguez. She's a clinical social worker and mental health provider at 16th Street Clinic. She'll be on. And also longtime friend and colleague, Arnita, listen, Arnita, I'm saying your name in Spanish, Arnita Haleman, I'm sure she doesn't mind, from the Office of Violence Prevention will be with us as well. You don't want to miss that. For those folks who are listening in Spanish and for English, you can be with us live, and then we post these to our Facebook as well as our YouTube. So you can always go back and take a look if you missed a guest you really wanted to talk to hear from. And for those who are Spanish speaking, all of those 3 venues are available to you as well. You can join us live. You call into the number we talked to you about earlier, and you'll hear interpretation simultaneously so you can participate, or you can find it on Facebook or YouTube as well. Today, there is no promo for a gift card, but I do want to remind you, if you appreciate the forum in any way, a way you can show your appreciation that's very simple, cost-free, is a win for us, is that filling out our survey only takes a couple of minutes, and then we have some feedback from you on the forum, but as well, we are able to share that with our funders who really look into ensuring that we get feedback from you, which is how we do business, but we need to demonstrate that to them, as you can imagine. And then we want to share a continued solidarity with those of you who are on the front line protesting. We're all our energy is going into this forum. It takes really a lot of work, a lot of hours, and many people. It doesn't look that way, but it really does. And then we know it's a long haul. So those of us individually will and personally will be with you on the front lines. As we know, this is a long haul. A little later, when sort of the initial energies are waning, we'll hold your arms up. And then we want to make sure that you know that there's a prayer visual planned. I'm just going to grab it from my cell phone. That's where I kept it to share with you. For Joel Acevedo, it's tonight at 6:30 on 45th and Cleveland, a candlelight prayer visual. So please do share in that. If you feel moved to, I'm sure the family could really use the comfort. And then last but not least, we want to continue to share that our prayers and thoughts are with you all because of how heavy the quarantine has been, and also just the long-standing issues we have faced as a nation and locally of racism and police brutality, and also for those of you who have suffered being isolated, apart from family and friends, lost work, small businesses, and those of who are dealing with positive test on C19, the stress that brings, and those of you who have lost loved ones, had another extended family member pass recently here in Milwaukee, and so very sad times. We want to know we're thinking of you as we continue this struggle. And so also, before we bring on our guests, I want to remind myself and you all that everything that's shared on the show is not necessarily something that reflects those views of SOC, because we are a certain type of organization. Before we get going, I'm being reminded on my text and on the inside chat here. This is the 50th episode of this forum. And I first want to thank you all for being here with us. This is a way that we continue to be together in community and to continue to be here for each other and continue to address the issues, the concerns and dreams that you have. And so when we first started this, it was a response to the crisis, and we expected it would be short-lived, and we're entering our third month. And so we're going to be reevaluating how to meet your needs and what we can continue to sustain. We will have a forum ongoing even when we're back in person, not sure how frequently, etc. But I do want to thank you for being with us. I want to thank my staff, who, many of them, this was terrifying to start something none of us had ever done before. And so I want to thank them for their courage, for doing it, right? Courage and bravery are things that you press onto even when you're afraid. That's when it really shows. It's not something you want to do, something you have to do, and you end up doing it. And so I'm very thankful for my entire team, my veterans who've been here from before, and all my new staff, or our new staff, have done such a great job in bringing this. So it's sad and angering times, but there is beauty in the battle, you have heard me say, and we have reached a milestone, our 50th episode. So thank everybody for making that happen. All right, with that, I want to invite our special guest for the day back, faithful colleague and friend. State Representative Marisabel Cabrera is here with us, and I'm very excited that she's back. Hola, State Representative Cabrera.
Hola, thank you for having me back.
We appreciate your presence, your knowledge, and your wisdom all the time. Today, we're going to be discussing, you know what I haven't asked you that would be really helpful for folks, because we've been trying to use this venue to do a little civic education in general. I want you to talk a little bit about the role of a state representative today, just a couple of minutes, and then we can tackle some of these topics. For those of you who don't know, State Representative Cabrera was the chair of the Fire and Police Commission previous to the current chair. And so we would like her sort of backstage perspectives about the FPC and her when she was there and her thoughts now. And then if we have time, we'll also get her to weigh in on sort of the state's response to the unrest, sending the National Guard, and then withdrawing the National Guard. But let's start with our civic education lesson this Friday. So share with us.
So the state assembly is made up of 99 assembly folks. We represent the 99 different districts in the state of Wisconsin. We write and we draft and introduce bills to implement laws if the majority votes for it. Basically, our ideas, they'll come from the community itself. So that's why there's 99 of us. We divide the state of Wisconsin into 99 districts and one person per district. And so then we have more of an ability. In one district alone, my district has about 50 to 60,000 people. And so I represent that group of people and what it is that they want to have happen. And then I try to draft legislation that would address the issues they bring to my attention or the ones that I am fully aware of, as in what's going on in the news. And basically that's what happens. We write the laws that are that apply to the state as a whole. I represent, my district is all in the city of Milwaukee. So again, I'm part of the Milwaukee delegation, which is made up of all the legislators that represent the city of Milwaukee or parts of the city of Milwaukee, and making sure that Milwaukee is getting its fair share and resources and attention to meet the needs of the city as a whole. But yes, each of us have a vote. Our vote represents everybody's in our district's voice.
Thank you. Thank you for helping folks understand that. And then let's talk about, I have until about 3:25, and then I have to jump off because the mayor is meeting with the Collaborative Community Committee. And so I'm going to hand the baton over to Gabe, but I'll stay on until 3:25. So talk to us about your tenure as the chair of the Fire and Police Commission, and talk to us about the function of that body, and then weigh in on what you know is happening there or perceive is happening.
So the Fire and Police Commission is a citizen oversight body that is charged with reviewing, creating, disciplining policies and procedures in both the Milwaukee Police Department and the Fire Department, and making sure that when those policies and procedures are violated, that there are folks being held accountable. I was there for about 6 years. When I first got there, it was very different than what it was when I left. So my goal was to make sure that the commission itself exercises authority, made sure that there was accountability and transparency in both departments, and that the commission itself maintained its independence, because it is located in City Hall, and because the mayor of Milwaukee appoints the members of the commission, and then they are confirmed by the Common Council. There's sort of an overlapping there as far as what the actual board members want to do, and then what different offices, different levels of government within the city of Milwaukee, the different directions that they want to pull the commission in. And so the commission itself, we have to pay attention to what the community is asking for. That's really the main purpose of the commission, is to be the voice of the community. And that's why it's made up of community members and not firefighter members or police officers. More recently, they have appointed one of each of those departments of folks that have been retired for a period of time. But what people want to see is that there is an independent body that is objective and that is going to be listening to the voices of the community. And so this is a citizen oversight commission that has a pretty broad authority in what it can do in comparison to similarly situated boards in other parts of the country. The Fire and Police Commission has the authority to hire and fire the chief of police. We also appoint all of the other members of both departments. We are responsible for promotions. We set the standards for recruiting and testing. We can revise rules, create rules for the both departments. And so it is something that I would encourage folks to reach out to the commission and make sure that they are seeing your point of view if it hasn't been made apparent by their actions as of yet. So in more recent times, as far as what is going on now in Milwaukee with the protest and the police response, I just wanted to, first of all, say that even though the protests were ignited by the death of George Floyd, it is not something that, unfortunately, was the first time or even the last time, because there was subsequent death at the hands of police after that incident. So this is something that folks have been sort of fighting for a long time, and it's not new. And things like what our current chief of police said in his press conference, as far as people jumping on the bandwagon, not only undermines the mission of the movement, but also makes it sound like it's some sort of fad or it's popular now, but it's only passing, and it's not the case. And so it's something that why the collaborative committee also is important is because a while back, a few years ago, the Department of Justice conducted a review of the Milwaukee Police Department, and it technically was never completed, and the incomplete report was leaked. And there were a lot of issues within that report that the Department of Justice found within the Milwaukee Police Department, and they made a multitude of recommendations as to how to make improvements in the department. The collaborative committee was a group of different nonprofit leaders and community leaders who had unofficially been collaborating together, and then this became this committee officially, and they were all working on how to implement the Department of Justice recommendations and either expand them or add to them based on what the community input was. So that is something that was ongoing. They submitted a report to the Fire and Police Commission, and the next step would have been to for the board and the CCC to work together and how to put those recommendations into effect. So right now, I am a state representative. Unfortunately, despite many of my Democratic colleagues all wanting to do our part and work on legislation that would help in police reform and curtailing police misconduct, the Republican majority has not to date expressed an interest in reconvening the assembly. What that means then is that it will fall to the local governments, cities and counties to decide how they will address the issues. And at the city level, really, the Fire and Police Commission has the greatest ability to bring about change and more swiftly as well. The mayor has an ability to help by making sure that the commission is fully funded. It has the resources it needs, and that, as far as staffing goes, and also that the full board is there. There ought to be 9 members, and currently there are 7, 2 of which their terms have expired and have also expressed an interest in leaving the commission. So really, there would be then down to 5 members. So there's 4 positions that really need to be filled, and that is something that the mayor could immediately remedy. I don't think it's a step forward to announce a whole separate new commission to address the same issues that, number one, the board is charged with doing, and that the CCC has already been working on for years to come up with the recommendations that they put forward. So in my opinion, that new commission that the mayor has proposed would actually be moving backwards and taking a step back and making it so that the necessary changes would be further down the line in the future. If I was on the commission right now, I definitely would be pulling standard operating procedures that deal with use of force, that deal with how to respond to civil disobedience, that deal with equipment that the police are able to either receive through grants or donations, or even through their own direct request to purchase. There is a SOP that deals with that, and I would be pulling that to revise it to make sure that we know where, what it is that you're purchasing and why is it necessary. I definitely think that the Common Council has the ability also to effectuate change because they have the power of the purse, and they can decide what is going to be distributed as far as what the MPD's budget requests are. They decide, are they going to approve it, to what extent, what amounts, and for what. And so those are things that it would be within their ambit of the Common Council's control. I have noticed that they've made multiple different members have made multiple different press releases calling for the Fire and Police Commission to do XYZ. There are things that those are things that, again, it's something that the Fire and Police Commission, we always, at least when I was there, we were always aiming to make sure that we exercise our authority independently. While we welcome feedback from other government bodies, we definitely wanted to make sure that our decisions were independent and objective, and that we were hearing from all stakeholders. And that didn't just mean the chief of police and the mayor and the Common Council. Our priority was to make sure that the people were heard. And the people also included not just the community members, but also the rank and file within the Milwaukee Police Department. Because while I was there, I would receive many anonymous messages from members of the Milwaukee Police Department, and with complaints about how the department was being run, how they were being treated unfairly, and explaining a lot of different things that were going on that the command staff of the MPD would paint a whole different picture. So and it's unfortunate that the rank and file always feel like they have to submit their complaints anonymously because they fear so much that they would be retaliated against if anybody found out that they were disclosing this information. And so the community voice also does include the rank and file. Obviously, we want to find a way that MPD can regain its legitimacy, right? Because that's what the people want. They want to have a police force that the police actually freely enjoys the trust of the community that is freely given, not where the police are addressing issues in a us versus them fashion. When that happens, then that's where you lose the trust, and that's really right now also what I believe that the response from the police, and as far as videos that I saw on social media, in the news, and also even the police response to questions about those videos, seems to be adding fuel to the fire, because it's not really listening to the community. It's more diverting, sort of almost flipping the script and saying that the police are the ones who are being treated unfairly due to things that are happening in other states, or different officers who have engaged in misconduct, and then that making the image of the department being likened to that behavior. But it's interesting to me, because that's pretty much what the movement is about, right? People are saying police are targeting certain groups and treating them all as criminals, and not giving them the respect or the dignity of even explaining to them what's happening, what is the encounter about, and why is it happening. And so those are things that I believe need to be addressed, and the Fire and Police Commission is in the best position to do that.
Well, thank you for that insight. I want to share with our viewers that State Representative Cabrera was the chair of the Fire and Police Commission. And in our observation, it was the first time that in recent history that our life can speak to, the commission was acting in its authority and independently during your leadership. We thank you for your courage and your leadership during that time. Also, I want to share that State Representative Cabrera is also an attorney by vocation, and so that comes into play in your expertise, and we very much appreciate it. We're out of time for today, and every time we have you, we say the same thing. We're going to have to bring you back. There's so much to discuss, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, and be safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Folks, I'm going to have to check out in a couple of minutes, but I want to give you just a preview, a glance of some of the survey responses. If you recall, we started a survey on Monday evening. The Fire and Police Commission, of which State Representative Cabrera was talking about, issued input from the community so that they could review Police Chief Morales as they had committed to when they reappointed him every 6 months. And so they asked for community input, and they sent me a letter and asked me for community input. And as I've heard me say before, if you ask an organizer what they think, their answer should be, let me ask the people, and that's what we did. With full disclosure, we told you whether you're very pro Chief Morales or pro anti-Chief Morales, or in between, we wanted to hear your responses. I'm going to share with you a couple of snippets, and then I know it's not fair because I have to jump off, because as we talked about in the past or earlier in the show, I said that we have a meeting, the CCC, with the mayor over all of this drama that's taking place, and we want to resolve it. I'm going to attempt to share my screen again. Folks, I have skills, but IT ain't one of them, so you're going to have to help me along. You're going to see a quick peek. I'm going to share some notes, and then I have to jump on. But the staff, I'm going to hand it over to Gabe, and the staff will be able to collect your thoughts. So let me give this a try. And you'll have to give me feedback on whether you can see it or not. Can you see the survey responses? I need you to tell me on my text because I can't see the screen. All right, I'm going to start sharing, and you give me feedback on whether you can see it or not. All right, so here we go. Let me get rid of this little thing. Overall, we asked you 3 questions, and then the FPC asked you these other questions here. So the total average of all the scores came out to 3.43. If you want to know where that lands Overall, with all your questions, very poor is 1, very good is 5, neutral is 3. So overall, it appears at first glance at this draft that the 4 in all the questions responding to Chief Morales' review he is a little closer, just slightly to neutral, between neutral and good. In the halfway mark, it's tilting a little bit to neutral. That's overall. Real quick, I'll let you share these and then I'm jumping off. When we said overall, how is he doing? 3.58. His leadership, 3.59. Governance, 3.53. Budget management, 3.33. Public safety, 3.37. Standard operating procedures and policy changes, 3.20. Technology initiatives, 3.52. Community relations, 3.38. Communications with the FTC department, city officials, community stakeholders, and media, 3.40. And again, the total average is 3.43. Now, you all answered each question and gave comments, and also, let me get out of here. Also, ranked his top 3 and the top 3 things he has to change and the top 3 good things. We're going to be sharing that on our website completely. You get to see everything. And I want to share with you that we protected people's identity so you didn't feel singled out or that you would be afraid of being retaliated. On our website, sometime as soon as we finish this, because it's due today, you're going to be able to access the full report in all its detail. Now, I'm sorry I have to rush. I know that that's not the most polite thing, but we gotta get to the next chunk of work that I gotta do. So I'm gonna hand it over with a lot of confidence to our civic engagement manager, Gabe.
Hey.
Gabe, appreciate you. Adios, everyone. I didn't get to say hi or answer questions, Gabe, so I'm passing the baton over to you.
All right, I'll do it happily. So yeah, I appreciate that Tammy mentioned that everyone's identity will be protected. So even if you made comments, your name will of course not be connected to whatever we put on our website, but maybe the comments itself will likely be on there. So you'll get to see the full report for what the 133 people, I'm pretty sure was the total we got. At least 133 people that lived in the district that SOC serves. So big thanks to everybody that did that survey. Really important for the public to be involved in these political processes, to hold our public officials accountable, whether they're elected or not, whether they're elected or appointed. It's important that we as a public are voicing our concerns and our opinions and holding them accountable. And this is just one small way that we were able to do that. So thanks sincerely to everybody that took the time to fill out that survey. So we will bring on now Marlene, our coronavirus and Facebook forum coordinator, to give us the latest with COVID-19.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, Marlene. Glad to have you on.
Thanks. So today I'm going to just give you a reminder of phase 3 again. Just want to let everyone know that we are still in yellow of phase 3, which means that we are at 25% capacity for individuals that want to go to bars and restaurants, salons, and barbershops. So now that means that there can be a maximum of 250 people, depending on the facility's capacity to carry those individuals. Just a reminder that it is important to continue to maintain social distancing and to wear a mask everywhere you go to protect yourself and the people you live with. In other news, the Milwaukee Business Restart Grant that was instilled to give small businesses in Milwaukee the chance to gain some grant money in order to purchase personal protective equipment for their employees, to invest in modifications to business spaces and operations that help reduce the spread of COVID-19, and restocking perishable inventory. The grant is due today, by the way, and you can find the link in our comments section. It was given out to the Milwaukee district through the Common Council, President Cavalier Johnson. In other news related to COVID-19, Wisconsin was awarded a crisis counseling response grant. So this funding will support services for people impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So the grant that is given out is $675,000 from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, awarded to Wisconsin Emergency Management. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services is partnering with the Wisconsin Community Action Program Association to provide crisis counseling services to people experiencing anxiety and stress as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic during this time. I want to say this as an introduction to the mental health week-long forum that we're going to have next week for regarding COVID and how COVID-19 has impacted a lot of the minority populations within Milwaukee. So we'll be going over how it's impacted those populations through different disparities regarding immigration, regarding economic distress, and racial disparities as well. So that will be all for our COVID segment for today.
Thanks, Marlene. I'm really looking forward to that mental health week next week. There have been a number of articles that have come out that talk about how seeing such a traumatic video of, I'm sure many people saw the graphic video of George Floyd dying, and that can cause secondary post-traumatic stress symptoms. And so I'm really looking forward to learning different tools, and I'm looking forward to the community having access to different tools for our mental health week next week. So thank you for sharing that, and we look forward to hearing from you on Monday, Marlene. As Tammy asked, I'm going to make sure we say hi to folks. Hola, Diana, Elsa, Uriel, Marianne, our super fans as usual with us. Jessica letting us know that she couldn't see the screen. Yeah, Tammy had X'd out of her screen, but I think we all verbally could get an idea of what she was saying. So no worries without seeing the screen. We got the numbers, and that was the most important part. So thank you all for engaging with us all the time. You have been really great fans. And if anyone else is here and wants to comment and get a little shout out, a hi, please comment and let us know what you're thinking so far, what you thought of Representative Cabrera. She gave us some really, really important perspective from the different entities that exist in the city, from the mayor to common council to the FPC, and how they kind of interact and hold each other accountable. So that was really valuable, and we're really thankful that she came on. And I'm actually going to talk a little bit about the FPC as well, the Fire and Police Commission, because they did have a meeting yesterday. So yesterday, like a lot of FPC meetings, a lot was left for follow-up for the future. But there were a few things that I thought would be really valuable for people to hear now, especially as protesting continues in the city. So we had Assistant Chief Brunson give an overview of what happens when a peaceful protest becomes an unlawful assembly, and then what is considered an unlawful assembly. So he described something being an unlawful assembly if the crowd begins to throw objects, if property is damaged, and if members of the public or if officers are threatened. And so when these things start happening, whatever law enforcement agency can declare it an unlawful assembly and use additional force to disperse a crowd, according to, again, Assistant Chief Brunson. And so when something like this happens, generally what happens, and it depends on the circumstances is what he said, is that generally 3 announcements are made to the crowd using some sort of long-range audio device to let the crowd know that this is now an unlawful assembly, and will try to give people time to disperse without additional use of force. So generally 3 announcements are made declaring it an unlawful assembly before additional force is used. I would be interested to know if anyone that's watching right now has information on if that's the case, if that's how it happened during the protests that have been happening in Milwaukee, if anyone has participated and has firsthand experience on whether 3 announcements were actually made. We would love to hear that information. Again, we are the people that are seeing things sometimes firsthand and can give that feedback to the FPC that might not be there firsthand. So any information that I'm saying that that MPD says is their policy but isn't what you're seeing firsthand, let us know and we will get that to the FPC, or let the FPC know directly through their email. And then Chief Morales during this Fire and Police Commission meeting also wanted to emphasize that since Wednesday, June 3rd, there has been no deployment of any smoke or tear gas or rubber bullets. And he also wanted to emphasize that he didn't want to emphasize, he said in the meeting that there were only 3 instances where tear gas was used by MPD. Only 3 times, and then the other instances were either just smoke, because there's a difference between tear gas and smoke, and then it might have been another law enforcement agency that was called on to assist with the protesting. So those are some things that Morales said. And then I also just wanted to share a direct quote from Assistant Chief Brunson, because like we've been saying, we are the public and we have every right to hold these different entities accountable, whether it's the MPD or the Fire and Police Commission, the Common Council, whoever it may be. And so I just want to share this quote because this is something that we can follow up directly with based on what he said. So this is Assistant Chief Brunson. We're going through all the video of what took place to make sure that we have followed our policies the way that they are written. Any police agency that cannot examine themselves and be critical when necessary will never improve. We are not fearful of examining ourselves, having outsiders potentially look at us, and to make changes where we need to make changes. So again, this is a direct quote from Assistant Chief Brunson. So this is something we can follow up with. Hey, you claim that you were going through all this video, especially video of use of excessive force, or looking through the video to see if there was excessive use of force. And we want to see that footage. What happened? Those are things that we as the public can do. And then one of the commissioners, Commissioner Cockcroft, actually asked to see the footage as they review it and will now form part of the review process. So we have an additional commissioner who will be a part of this review process of the video footage. And that's something that we can absolutely stay engaged with to see, what actually went down. We have different accounts and hopefully more additional footage, especially from body cam footage, could provide more insight into what happened at some of these different protests. Additional recap of the week. Wednesday was the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting, and during this meeting, Alderman Kovac and other Common Council members, they raised concerns about a bid to purchase tools for deploying chemical irritants for the Milwaukee Police Department. And because of the police department's misuse of tear gas and rubber bullets on the protesters recently, they were very concerned about this and voiced their not being in agreement with this purchase. And then in a separate interview after this committee meeting, the city's purchasing director, Rhonda Kelsey, said that the bid had been canceled, but MPD is still asking City Hall to reconsider and to go forward with the purchase, claiming that they need this equipment like gas mask equipment, tactical gas delivery systems, and aerosol projectors for irritants. They're claiming that they need this for the 2020 Democratic National Convention, and that this bid for a purchase had been put in well before the protesting started, sometime in February or March. But as of now, that bid is canceled. And Alderwoman Coggs actually put out a statement later saying that she intends to introduce legislation that would require police to disclose its current inventory of military-grade equipment and notify the council before it purchases any such equipment in the future, which is something that is not currently required. So we will look for that legislation moving forward. Also this week, the Judiciary and Legislation Committee met and gave an update on the Safe Vote program. And I talked about that earlier this week on the forum. And originally it was going to be a mailing of absentee ballot requests to all registered voters in Milwaukee, but now it is going to be sending out a voter information packet to all residents of the city, not just registered voters, to get people registered and requesting their absentee ballots through the myvote.wisconsin.gov website. And then that provides additional tracking ability to see where your ballot is, and is a more streamlined process. And then also finally, just want to remind you all that you may have received a mailing from the Center of Voter Information, and that is a legitimate mailing. Inside it contains an absentee ballot request in the paper form, so you can fill that out. It will already have some of your information filled in based on voting records and public records. So don't be weirded out or scared that they have your information on there already. It's to make it easier for you. But this is a legitimate mailing. So send in that request for an absentee ballot so you're prepared to vote safely for the upcoming elections. As usual, I want to share a census video with you all because, like I say every time I'm on the show, the census is super important and will change a lot for us, change for the better or for the worse based on this census. So political representation is affected, public funding is affected. So please make sure you're filling out this census, and in just a few minutes after the video, we will share the slideshow that we promised all of you that shows our lovely graduates who have made sure that they and their families are counted. So I will leave you with that video that is actually graduation related to fit the theme for the week, and I will be back with you after the video.
Every student is full of possibilities, just like every community, which is why the 2020 census wants to make sure we are all counted. Because an accurate census count can help inform funding for things like after-school programs and education for the next 10 years. Let's stand together. Let's make it possible.
Shape your future. Start here. Learn more at 2020census.gov.
So again, that fits our theme very well. I'm just looking to see if there are any comments, especially with what I was talking about regarding the Fire and Police Commission meeting. Let us know if there are any inconsistencies with what I said they are supposed to be doing, because that's something the public should always know. But I'm not seeing any comments, so I will invite our communications manager on to show us this beautiful slideshow that she created that we're so thankful for. Oh my God, that was so beautiful. Very touching. Thank you so much, Marisol. What a beautiful way to honor our graduates who didn't get to be honored in the typical way of being able to walk across the stage. Loved seeing all the different ages of folks that sent in their graduation pics. So freaking adorable. Thank you everyone for sending in those pictures, for letting us use them to spread some joy, and congratulations around our Southside residents. I want to remind everybody who we have coming up next week. We have a full week. Our forum coordinator has been putting in work to get some really great guests. So we have on Monday, Dr. Rob Smith, a professor at Marquette University. We also have Reggie Jackson from the Black Holocaust Museum, and Griselda Aldrete, the executive director of the Fire and Police Commission. So that will be definitely very interesting, especially with all that's come out this week. Ches Ordonez, who is the City of Milwaukee Equal Rights Commission. Also Gabriela Diegues, who is a clinical social worker and mental health provider at the 16th Street Clinic, and Arnita Holloman from the Office of Violence Prevention. So again, we have a stacked week for you all next week. We will announce so we did the slideshow and I didn't announce the winner because we're going to announce it on Monday. So stay tuned on Monday to find out if you won that $50 gift card for the promotion for the Counting Our Graduates. So stay tuned on Monday for that winner and for all of these phenomenal guests that we'll have next week. And I will leave you all with a thank you video that we like to do after every episode. Congrats to our 50th episode. Like Tammy said, it's been a wild ride, but we are happy to provide this information to you all on a daily basis and look forward to see how it will transform and morph in the future to continue. So I'll play that video and we will all see you on Monday.
Hi Community Forum, I'm Marisol Diaz, Communications Manager here at SOC, here with Apollo. We would like to thank everyone for supporting our 3 o'clock with SOC live show and for completing our SOC survey. In addition to thanking our residents for tuning in and sharing our show, we would also like to thank the following sponsors: Wisconsin Voices, Community Development Block Grants, Neal Philanthropy State Infrastructure Fund, Movement Voter Project, Catholic Campaign for Human Development, Zilver Foundation, City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, Tides Foundation, City of Milwaukee Promise Zones, and all of the faithful individuals who support SOC through